Hey, I just wanted to make a quick video on doing servicing on your Morleys. If you have some of the older big chrome units like this one of the things that you want to do is replace the caps, especially in the power supply. The signal path ones aren't necessarily required, but I tend to do them anyway just because they're 40 to 50 years old now. Um, one Something else you need to look at is this resistor here, which is connected to the light bulb. Many times, especially in the fuzz wahs, this particular resistor is burned up and will damage the circuit board after a while. So you want to replace this with a 1 or 2 watt metal film and stand it up off the board about 5 millimeters, quarter inch, depending on where you are, so that it gets some airflow underneath it. The caps I use are Vichys. They are rated at 105 degrees Celsius for 3 to 5,000 hours operation at that temperature. Um, I tend to use 100-volt caps because these units were designed in the 70s when the wall voltage was still 110 to 117 volts on average. And these days, especially in some areas, the wall voltage can creep up to 120 or 130 volts, somewhere in there. And since this particular power supply uses a voltage doubler, every volt you get here is 2 volts here. So just do the math on that. These things were supposed to have a 55-volt power supply, and they often used underrated caps. I don't know why they did that. It's very important that you replace these caps. Uh, if you can see this is the reason why you do that. As you can see, this cap is only rated at 25 volts, which is just not enough, and they will explode, possibly catch fire, spew goo all over the board and ruin it. And yeah, I have a couple examples of this kind of thing happening. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who poo-poo replacing capacitors. And I just think that they either lack experience or don't really know what they're talking about. Anyway, so those are one of the things that I recommend you do. I've been working on pedals for more than 30 years now, and I've seen just about every kind of disaster area, that there can be. Beer spilled and things is always great. As for the shroud, I've seen a lot of people really do some serious hack jobs on the shroud, trying to use super glue, Elmer's glue, this, that, and that, duct tape. Yeah, don't do that. You can buy this tape new still, and there's nothing wrong with this tape. It's actually quite hard to remove even after 40 years. I always end up using naphtha to remove the film and clean up things, and a little bit of rubbing alcohol afterwards to get the naphtha off. If there's any remaining, you can still buy this tape. It's medium stick masking tape, and it's made by Duck. It is not duck tape. It is not this shiny, silvery stuff you use for doing your heating ducts in your home. It is just regular old masking tape that has a medium tack, and it's pretty sticky. The only trick is cutting it and getting it in there. You can adjust the shroud by bending this a little bit if it doesn't quite mate up. And you can also take this off and adjust the bolt underneath to where it needs to be. Usually it's just like a couple of threads in is where it needs to be at. You can also bend this tab a little bit if you need slightly more throw, but don't do it too much. As for the LDRs, They're very easy to adjust, and most people get this wrong. They try to adjust them forward and backwards. That's not the correct way to adjust these. It's the height away from the circuit board that controls the sweep, particularly with the wah LDR, which is usually underneath the shroud here a little bit. And this one that is up facing is the volume LDR. And again, you just want to slightly move it up or down with the proper tool. I use a TV set tool, which is this guy right here. See, it has the angled end on it. So yeah, you don't want to touch the LDR itself. You just lift slightly underneath it, or slightly, very gently push the connecting leads down a little bit. Make sure that you don't screw around with the angle of it. It needs to remain flat, and that goes for this one too, which is facing this way. And very, very tiny adjustments, especially on the wah one, will affect the sweep of the wah. You want to make it so that when it's in the full toe forward position, that the wah is opened all the way up to the brightest. You can do this in a dark room. I find that it doesn't really matter that much. I just kind of take the bottom off and adjust it and set it on the floor. I have carpet, so it blocks all the light, and I don't have to mess with putting the bottom on it and taking it off. Another thing you want to do is just standard maintenance. Get dust and crap out of it. Clean your pots with deoxit and squirt some deoxit fader lube in them afterwards. You always want to check the jacks. This one didn't need them replaced because it uses zinc washers, which don't create a whole bunch of galvanic corrosion. Some of them use the black oxide washers, and those always rust. And if you have those in there, you can see here, possibly, if it will focus, that the jacks will rust, and they get very oxidized on the inside, and even with your trusty jack dildo and deoxit, you're not going to get them clean. I have wire brushes too, and they just don't come clean. These Boss style jacks, these are the same ones Boss uses. They don't create good grounds, and yeah, they're just not very good quality in my opinion. I tend not to use them. I usually replace them with Switchcraft. These ones are fine, so I didn't replace them. I did replace them in a fuzz wah that I also serviced, which is not quite done because the shroud was messed with quite a lot and it's very deformed, so it wouldn't stay, and I've got it now. I soaked it in a little bit of water, and now I have it underneath something very flat with a lot of weight on it for a couple hours until it dries out so that it flattens out again. That's also another trick that you can use to repair that. Other than that, that's how you service a Morley. You always want to check the bulb too. People often put the wrong bulb in there. It is a 387. I've seen them come in with 382s. I haven't looked those up, but I don't think that's the correct bulb, and it was just somebody replaced it. This is a 12 volt bulb. 12 volt bulb, I think. And you don't want it to draw too much current because it'll burn this resistor up. So there you have it, and I hope this is helpful to you if you own one of these units and wish to do service on it. If you don't know what you're doing, be careful because this is AC. Don't work on it plugged in. That's a terrible idea. If you don't know how to solder correctly or where to buy the parts and replace things in the proper way, then I recommend you don't do it and pay someone that knows what they're doing, like me, to do it for you, and you won't have any issues. Alright guys, you have a good day, and thanks for watching.